our speaking panel now. We're about to have our speaking panel. Okay, welcome everybody to the Kevin Shahroozi Fashion Show and Event. I'm Kevin Shahroozi. I really appreciate all of you coming. We have an amazing set of speakers here tonight. And we had a little malfunction with DJ, but we're all good now. By the way, DJ Transaction, that's DJ Transaction. Great DJ. All right, let's get into this. So I would like to introduce everybody first. So first, we have here Taylor King. Taylor is a videographer, a marketer, and someone who you want on your team when you're building a brand. He runs his own production company, Taylor King Creative, and he has worked with brands such as GQ, Tom Ford, and he recently helped build out some content for Anthony Davis and John Wall from the NBA. So Taylor, thank you so much for coming.
Hey, thank you so much for having me, man. I really appreciate it. So I want to briefly tell my story real quick, and I think that's kind of the whole plan for the event here. So I currently run a production company, and it's kind of crazy because it's like a full-time freelance gig, and I think a lot of people, like, that's the dream, right? Like, you want to end up doing that. And I want to briefly talk about how I got there. Try and give a little bit of inspiration. So my life has kind of been about solving problems, right? Everyone kind of finds their set of problems in life. Maybe it's you want to start your own business, or you want to be on a billboard, or you want to speak at a news station. Whatever your thing is, you want to get there, and the way to do that is by solving problems. So I started in Charleston, South Carolina. That's where I grew up, and I'd always been making videos my whole life. And so I think, like, what I can give to you guys is, it's all about, it's problem to problem, right? So I started in Charleston, and I moved to Chicago. I ended up living in New York, all from just like, it's just like pure will. And so I feel like what I can empower to you guys tonight is just like trying to, achieve that dream just day by day. So I, grew up and then moved to Chicago to pursue film school, because that was my dream. I wanted to make videos and have people pay me for those videos. Whatever you do, whether it's make clothes or make videos, you want to like live that dream and have people pay you for it. And in film school, I was there, and I know a lot of you might be in school right now. You get into it and it's super exciting, but for me, film school just wasn't what I was looking for. So I wanted to strive for something beyond that. And so moving from film school, I dropped out and moved back home for a few months, and I wanted to chase that dream, right? So I was living back home, and I figured things out, and I wanted to combine marketing with my videos. So I studied marketing and interviewed out, at a lot of different places. I was out to San Diego, I was back in Chicago, back in New York, interviewing, trying to find that job that would set me up. And I ended up getting a job at a marketing agency here, right in New York. And I moved here, and that first year in New York was, figuring out how I can incorporate marketing into my videos. And, because a video is nothing without sharing it with the world. And so, after that year, I finally, after pursuing videos every single day, it was the day-to-day grind. It was getting up and making videos in the morning and going to work, and then getting off work and continuing to just produce. It was a part-time gig. It was the every single day for a year. And finally, after all that time, this past year I was able to finally go full-time freelance. And I just had that list of clients after all that building, and it's the dream, so.
Excellent, yes, and I know that you just moved here from Charleston, just out of the blue to try to make your dreams come true. Can you tell everybody, especially the students here, about what you had to go through to make your dreams come true? What were some of the obstacles you had to overcome? I know you first had a job interview in California, then you actually had a job interview in New York, so you switched your flight at the last second to get to New York. You luckily had a cousin living here, you stayed at their place. So making success, you have to be very creative and just do whatever it takes. So can you speak more about that?
Yeah, I think the hardships that no one expects when you're freelance are like, yeah, you can do what you love. So you make clothes, and you sell them, but it's like all of the business things behind that, right? It's like taxes and things that you don't think about until you're actually in it. And so, like, what I would empower to a lot of you guys is, like, whatever that dream is, like, it's there, and you don't always have to know everything about that thing before you jump into it. Like, I didn't know how to do my taxes before I, like, as a freelancer, before I went freelance. Like, no one knows how to do that shit. So it's like, I think for me, it was like, it's, you know, you just jump into it because you love it, and then you figure it out.
Right. And I know that you had to do a lot of boring and unglamorous things, you know, and even today you still have to do a lot of like grunt work to keep your business going and to work with people like GQ and Tom Ford and people from the NBA. So, you know, can you talk about your motivation? You know, you must be very motivated to be able to do all of that unpretty work.
Yeah, and I mean, I think everyone's got those few moments in life that shape them and kind of be like, this is why I do what I do. I think for me, it was growing up, you know, was not always like the top kid at whatever I did. You know, I didn't do great at school, and I didn't do great at like anything related to school. So I like found, you know, no one was really looking to me as the kid who was gonna be like, you know, the top kid in the class. So I had to figure out like what made me me, and everyone was kind of like, oh man, what is this kid gonna do? Like, what is he gonna do with his life? And so it's kind of almost to prove them wrong. Like, that's really my motivation. It's like I want to do with my life what most people don't, and prove those that doubted me wrong.
I love it. Yes, you know, your motivations could be also to prove people wrong. You know, on top of many people have motivations to be very successful or to live a free life or to have a huge business. But sometimes a very big motivator is to prove the naysayers wrong. So I'm glad you got to share that. So Taylor, thank you very much for sharing a bit of your story. And can you tell the people about how they can find you if someone wants to do some video content with you or find out more information about your brand?
Yeah, so if you guys want to learn more, you can find me at createdbytk.com. And that's it.
All right, thank you, Taylor. So now we want to get into Mr. Kevin Benaham. Kevin is a friend of mine, and he's a menswear influencer, he's a stylist, and he's a GQ insider. Right out of college, he helped his real estate team become ranked number 25 on the Wall Street Journal. Then he now works creatively with brands such as Levi's and Acura and GQ. And he's also coming out with a new show called On Trend, where he has conversations with inspiring and famous fashion people. So thank you for coming, Kevin.
Thank you for having me, Kevin. By the way, can we give Kevin a round of applause for setting this up tonight? I've never seen a fashion designer have a panel. It's very selfless of you. Selfish. So you want me to go in my story and?
Yeah. Please tell the people, you know, just your journey, your story about how you started. You know, I know you lived in the Bronx in like not the best neighborhood. You came from a small beginning, and now you're working on your own just with such big brands, and you're big time influencer. So yeah, just tell the people your story about what you had to go through, how you got to where you are, and your journey.
Awesome. Yeah, so right out of college, I graduated from Brooklyn College. I dove right into real estate because my grandfather has always been in real estate, and I always looked up to him. So I was like, you know what, let me give this a shot. I've always been super motivated, super hungry for like the next level, for the next thing. So, right out the gate, I was a rookie of the year, and like stated, I ranked number 24 with my team in the Wall Street Journal. But doing that, I definitely got access to a lot of wealthy people, high caliber, and the thing about me, I was always dressed amazing. I made it. I always say this, like, first impressions are everything. First impressions are everything, because when someone saw me, they literally thought I was worth $1 million, even though my count was in the negative at the time. So I kind of had to fake it till I made it, I remember doing a deal with some guy, worth more than $50 million, and I was super nervous, but I was like, what the hell with it? Like, I'm just gonna do it, just fake it till you make it type thing. And you really have to believe in yourself, So through my journey, a lot of my clients recognize me as being like one of the most best dressed persons. So when they went to an event or if they had, a date, they would ask me, hey, Kevin, how should I dress or what should I wear? So I started helping these people. And slowly and organically, I started, styling them for free just because I liked it. But then I started asking my friends, that were actual stylists and had a full business, how do I, monetize this? So I learned, I did that, and what I started to realize was that I like fashion way more than I like real estate. And that goes to show you that, you have to experiment and you really have to, follow your gut, follow your intuition. What's the next step? You don't have to have a 5-year goal. I think you really just have to, see what's next, what the opportunities are, and if you feel that it aligns with your goal or what you're good at, then you should go for it. So then what happened there is, organically, I got the momentum and I started meeting more people in the fashion industry. I started styling celebrities. And then, I started taking pictures of my outfits and posting them, on Instagram, on the gram, started getting, a lot of followers and stuff like that. So I started getting a lot of outreach from brands that wanted to work with me because of the way I branded myself. So now, me and my partners, we opened our own social media agency and we help brands with their businesses because, believe it or not, a lot of people do not know how to brand themselves online. How do you tell your story, right? How do you get someone emotionally attached to your brand? And it's all about, being vulnerable, telling your story online, showing the real you, right? Because a lot of people don't realize, this thing right here that we're holding in our hand, back in 25 years ago, to create the type of content that we're creating would cost thousands of millions of dollars to do. But now you can literally just press a button and you're there. You have access to the world. To talk to someone in China, to meet with someone in California, you would have to, take a 6-hour flight, 10-hour flight. But now you have Skype. You have all these resources at your hand. So you really have to look at yourself like a media company, like you're a brand, right? You might work for, let's say Macy's, right? That's their brand, but you should always you should always care about you, right? For me, I'm Kevin Benham, and I people call me KB. So that's my brand, and that's gonna carry me throughout my whole life because, until, obviously until I die, or unless I, do what's her name, Caitlyn Jenner, and I change my name, but, I definitely, I feel like you are your own brand, you have to carry that, and you really have to, specialize in what you're good at.
Absolutely. I like a lot of points you made, from just taking risks to have to do a lot of the ugly work and just doing it day in and day out. I really want to ask you, what keeps you motivated? I'm sure you have big dreams and I'm sure you're going to achieve them. But a lot of people, they want to be successful, but they don't want to do the small things and they don't want to do it day in and day out, or they're scared to take risks, So it seems like you need to have a big motivation, like your why or your purpose, or just something you really want to achieve in your life, or a life that you want to have to be able to, get to where you want to. So what are some of the things, what is your motivation, to keep you doing all of this day in and day out hard work?
I think my motivation is, it would have to be gratitude. I personally am really grateful to be alive, number one, and to actually live in New York City. I know a lot of people, they always wanted to live in New York City and they can't. So I think that's number one. But I think number two is, I always, when I get up in the morning, I always ask myself, how can I get better? How can I make myself, the best version of myself, and how can I impact people? So that's what really motivates me. But also, I think what motivates me too is I knew what life was when I wasn't like that. I knew when I actually hated something I didn't like doing. But now that I really like doing what I'm doing, that motivates me even more because I don't never want to go back to how my life was, basically.
That's great. It goes back to, it's not just what you're aspiring to, but it also is about what you don't like. What you don't like could be something that motivates you. You don't want to go back to your old life. You don't want to go back to the neighborhood you used to live, or you don't want to go back to a mediocre life. You know, that could be the motivator too, to keep you getting to a bigger life. So yes. What has been your biggest achievement up to date? Put you on the spot.
That's hard one, man. I think just honestly, just starting my social media company. It was really hard to acquire some of the clients that we had, but I think honestly that one of the biggest achievements is going to be I'm actually launching a show in 2 weeks. It's called On Trend, so check it out. You can find me at Kevin Benaham on Instagram. And I'm actually, you know, since I was in high school, I've always wanted to. I've looked up to Oprah, looked up to like Ryan Seacrest, so I kind of want to be that in the fashion realm. So it's gonna be pretty dope. But I think I just honestly I don't really look at big achievements. I really think it's like the little wins, and then you know it snowballs into a big achievement.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm sure it will be. So thank you, Kevin. Thank you very much for sharing your story. And would you please tell everybody how they can find you? And, yes, tell them how they can reach you or find out about KB.
Yeah, you can find me kevinbenaham.com. I know my last name is really hard to spell, but it's Benejan. Or at Kevin Benaham on Instagram. And you can DM me, email me, and I always respond to everyone, so yeah.
Awesome. All right, now we're gonna get into Bethany. Can we pass her a mic? And Bethany is part of Loreal. So Bethany Johnson, thank you very much for coming, I appreciate that. Bethany Johnson is the site director for hair.com, a content marketing website and a professional product division of Loreal. She's originally from Georgetown, Kentucky, and she spent some time in Nashville, Tennessee. She was working in e-commerce at that time, and she worked with some less fashionable brands before she moved to NYC in 2014. So thank you for coming, Bethany.
Thank you for having me. Oh. Nope, we're still not on. Okay. Thank you for having me. So as Kevin mentioned, I actually moved to New York about 4 years ago from Nashville at the time. I am now the site director for hair.com, which is a website that really focuses on the salon professional and the salon industry as a whole. So it ties into the fashion industry in that way. But I got into this role in a very strange way. So I came to New York through Loreal, and my very first interview, the human resources representative says, "You're not going to do well in this role. This is not a role for you. I really don't recommend that you take it. They're probably going to give it to you, but I don't think you're going to like it." And so I took it, because who doesn't want to move to New York as a girl from like the small town south and work in the beauty industry? And so I decided to do that and took it and have had an amazing career so far. But to the human resources representative's point, it was an adjustment. It was a different world. So I actually went to a very small school in Kentucky for college, and then got my master's degree because I couldn't find a job out of college. And then all of a sudden I got several very different opportunities. I worked for a distillery at one point, and I worked for those of you that may also be from a small town, I worked for Dollar General for a while. And then I worked for Kraft Foods, and I sold macaroni and cheese and marshmallows. So when you think about that, like, that's totally unfashionable. Like, when I was selling marshmallows and I was in Dollar General's, I never would have expected I was here. But that brought me to this point. And so my experience has been, you never know what's going to get you there. You're going to be in some terrible positions. I mean, even at Loreal, I've sat there staring at computer screens doing spreadsheets for hours and hours and more hours. And I do more PowerPoint presentations than anyone should ever be forced to do in their life. But I've done some incredibly cool stuff, and I just feel so blessed to have been in that position.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. So tell everybody about what were some of the unglamorous and the grunt work and you know the ugly things you had to do that wasn't fun to work hard and get to New York City and work in L'Oreal and run a whole project.
Of course. When I was at the distillery, I used to run tastings. I would go to liquor stores and help people do tastings of bourbon. When I was at Dollar General, I would get shipments of marshmallows. I don't know how I didn't gain like 800 pounds, but I would get shipments of marshmallows to my desk to like go pitch to people. It was terrible, terrible, weird, strange work. But because of that, I built up the skill set that L'Oreal wanted me for. L'Oreal came to me and they said, we need somebody that has this skill set, like, what can we do? I mean, they moved me up to New York, like it was a dream job. And as a result, that is why I get to do what I do now.
Awesome, yes, and I know you still have to do on a day-to-day basis some not fun work, but you're traveling so much now, and you're running this project at L'Oreal, and you're doing photo shoots, you're running video shoots, you're running the content of this hair.com at L'Oreal. So nowadays, what are some of the things that you have to do on a day-to-day basis? Give us some examples. You know, it could be, I know Kevin meditates every day and he listens to podcasts every day. But, you know, every successful person has good habits, and they always, on a day in and day out, they have some good things that they do, the same type of things they do every day to keep them sharp, you know, if you could say. So what are some of yours?
I really focus on, I find successful people to surround myself with. I actually met Kevin in that way. I looked for people out there that really inspired me, and I looped Kevin into my hair.com project, and he's looped me into projects like that. It really is, my primary habit is finding people that inspire me and finding people that make me a better person, because they say you're the average of the 5 people around you. And I 100% believe that. I know that is why I have grown to the person that I am.
Absolutely. You are the sum of the 5 people around you. Exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right, we have Mr. Mark Moore now. Yes.
I'm leaving.
Oh no, it's too late for you to leave now. We're gonna pin you down. But thank you for coming, Mark. I'm a proud member of his advisory board team. He is the CEO of and president of Debut Model Agency. He also holds a 10th degree black belt.
Oh, damn.
So anybody got any problem, just, he'll handle it for you.
1 second. This is my protector, though.
Yeah, that's right. The bodyguard.
Oh, it's the bodyguard. Right.
This is like worse than Bonnie and Clyde. So Mark also has, he has more than 20 years experience running a business development company called Debut Media. And over the past 2 decades, he has helped restructure, consult, and guide high-level professionals, also fashion and entertainment personalities, achieve measurable results. Some of these companies include Burberry, Sex and the City, and Saks Fifth Avenue. So thank you again for coming, Mark, and please tell everybody your story, what you had to go through, what you have gone through to get to where you are now, and just your journey.
Well, thank you. It's a little loud. Thank you, Kevin, for having me here. I'm not sure that's really my bio, but okay. I got into what I'm doing right out of college a long time ago. Too far away? Closer. I don't want to scream, okay? Leave me alone. So, many years ago, like last week, when I graduated, like so many others here on the panel say, wasn't really sure what I was going to do. I got a really great degree from University of Pennsylvania by way of Wharton, and I wasn't sure what I was going to do, so I took a job sort of as an apprentice for a marketing company. But I was really like an apprentice, I was just learning. And the guy also went to Penn, so he took me in like his son. You know what I mean? Like, he just loved me. We all have some mentor or somebody who's kind of like grabbed us and said, you can do it. And he said that to me. So one day out of the blue, months into the gig, he sends me on this meeting to close some deal with some guys that I don't know. 3 very old white men at the Princeton Club. Here I'm 22 years old, 125 pounds, $40 to my name, which was in my pocket. Took about fake it to make it, right? And I show up at the Pen Club, and I had to fake it, like I knew what I was doing, but I knew my business. Here's the thing, I was really passionate about what I was talking about from a marketing perspective. Like I loved what their project was, and I was going to show them how this was going to work. So I walk in and I sit in front of these 3 guys. I don't know who they are, but I'm talking to them. And I'm going to tell you right now, I had them like this. I had these guys. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, these guys, done deal. All right, meeting went really, really well. I go home. Next day, the CEO of the business development company that I was working at calls me up, screaming at me, like I did something wrong. I go to his penthouse. I'm like, what? And I see champagne bottles going off and everything else. I'm like, what's going on? He made me a partner of his business development company that day at 22 years old. Apparently, I closed this deal, right? But here's the thing. I didn't really do enough research. I didn't have enough experience to recognize that, you know what, dude, do some research. Okay, so when I graduated, the internet really wasn't a commercial thing. I'm not really dating myself, but I guess I am. So I didn't really do so much. I couldn't Google who these guys were. Anybody know who George Soros is?
Yeah.
Ever heard the name?
Yeah.
All right. So George Soros, if you don't know, is a multi-billionaire, but he's not just a multi-billionaire. He's one of the most powerful people on the planet. Democrats are scared of him. Republicans hate him. Guy's got power. He was sitting right across from me in that meeting. All right, when I found out who this guy was, and that's the reason why they made me a partner, I'm 22 years old, I realized then everything my mom told me growing up, when they say, when your parents say you can do anything, that's when I truly realized, oh my God, you can do anything, right? Like, I got this, whatever, bring it. So my sense of fear was gone, right? And I think for me, sitting on this panel, I'm grateful that Kevin asked me to speak a little bit, was because what I want to say is I'm grateful for what I have because I've developed from them. I helped to restructure Burberry. I helped to take Saks off Fifth Public. I helped to, I worked on the set of Sex and the City. Whatever, celebrities, right? I work with a bunch of celebrities. I've done a lot of great things. If you look at my resume, you look at my face, and you'll say, yeah, you look like your resume. But anyway, the thing is, what I realized from that experience was, it's what you want to do. People say it's about vision and it's about passion, but there's one other thing, there's also purpose. You have to purpose your passion, right? It's not enough to be passionate about what you're doing. You have to have some purpose to it, and then execute the shit out of it, excuse my language. But execute the shit out of it, don't stop. And matter of fact, number one thing I used to tell my clients when I was working in marketing, I would say to them, do not, under any circumstance, tell your family, your husband or your wife, your brother or your sister, anybody who loves you, don't tell them what you're doing. Just do it. It's not because they don't love you, it's because they love you, and their first instinct is to worry. You're making a mistake. You know what I'm saying? Talk to strangers. Anyway, I don't know if that's what the question you asked me, but.
No, that's great. I just want you to share your story, and you did, and hopefully bring some hope and advice to anybody striving in here. And that leads me to my next question. I wanted to ask you about, what drives you? You said your purpose. What was your motivation? What is your motivation? Because that's the key thing that keeps you going and go through all these hurdles and obstacles. So tell us a little about what your motivation in life is.
Well, the first thing, and it's unpopular, maybe, whatever, but you have to have what means something to you. So I'm going to say, right, the first thing that comes to my mind as you asked that question before you finished asking it was, Father. I'm very spiritual, right? I believe in Christ, but that's me. That's my personal relationship, right? So that's first. Second, what drives me, the industry that I'm in, right? I run a model agency. it's all women, right? Not because I want to be surrounded by women.
Are you sure?
You're the young
Kev, you know me, I can do that all by myself.
I knew it.
Yes,
I'm not
you're
shy.
suave, go ahead.
No, I'm not. Actually, the opposite. But anyway, so the deal is, I live in New York City. I'm born and raised in New York City. I've traveled the world. I've seen a lot. I've been in and around the industry since, I'm not going to tell you the years. Like, well, I can say it, whatever. Since 1991. Okay? Mostly on the production side. You know, designers, Yves Saint Laurent, Isaac Mizrahi, and on and on and on. I was there working with them as a creative director. I was working with them. I helped to restructure Burberry and on and on, all these things. But the thing I noticed the most, the thing that hurt the most were watching what models were going through, okay? Everybody in here who's a model knows what I'm gonna say before I say it. You know those battles where you're trying to get your photos back from photographers who promise you the world but they don't give you your photos, right? All the things, the guys who propositioning you. Oh wait, no, it's not gonna be a nude test. No, not at all. But can you just take that off? And then maybe that, right? So for me, I'm very paternal. I have a couple of sisters, you know. So it was important to me in starting this agency to focus on development, support, and security. I want the models to know that where they are here, they're safe. So what drives me is to make sure that they're safe, to make sure that they're professional, to make sure that whatever they don't have, they get. Not just in terms of their runway ability, not just in terms of their makeup and their hair and their posing and all these things that, you know, every model does. But I want them to take this as, they have to understand this is their craft, this is their business, right? That means understanding credit, right? Banking, finance, how to set up your own companies. In other words, what happens when you stop modeling? What if you make $100,000 from a shoot, from an ad campaign, and 6 months later you're broke because you don't understand money? So that's what drives me.
That's excellent. I also wanted to ask you, you made a good point about the naysayers, and I want to ask you about how do you block out the naysayers or the negative? Because, you know, when you're going after something very successful or very big, no matter how much you try to avoid it, it's gonna happen. There's gonna be people who are just being negative, or they're just gonna try to say it's not gonna work, or they're just haters. But you know, how do you block that out? It's inevitable, and it even can happen with family and friends. It's not because they don't love you; they love you, but because they worry about you. Like you said, you know, they're gonna say things like, "Oh, are you sure about that?" Or that could be a scamming type of business, or "Oh, barely anybody ever makes it. Don't waste your time." You know, so how do you block out, you know, all the negativity or the naysayers and keep yourself positive and focused?
Well, what has anybody ever done where there weren't naysayers or haters or something, no matter what you were doing? I mean, you could say, hey, let's go to this movie is great, and then somebody's gonna have something negative to say about it. So we all live with that. That's a part of our everyday life. But I look at it more like, name a field, basketball, football, art, modeling, whatever. Anyone who's passionate or into anything that they're doing has somebody who they look at and they look up to them like, oh my God, that person is amazing. They almost deify other human beings. People who play basketball deify Michael Jordan, for example, right? Or you deify these, you know, some designer who was super successful. When I was training in martial arts, coming up in martial arts, we had instructors, black belts that were out there, that were halfway deified. These guys were amazing. And so everyone always looked at them like, oh my God, this person, wow, and they put him up here. And I always, even from the time I was 8 years old, 9 years old, I would look at him and like, yeah, this guy's amazing. But I didn't look at it like, they're amazing, I can never do that. I looked at it like, they got 2 arms, I got 2 arms. I bleed just like they do. They're human like I am. They're only there now because they were born before me. So do what you gotta do.
Yes, I love it, absolutely. Just we're all equal human beings, and you just gotta believe. You gotta believe anything is possible. So thank you very much, Mark. I really appreciate that. Okay, now I'm happy to introduce Kelsey Maskell. She is a general manager of Debut Model Agency, working with Mark Moore. Kelsey is an international model, actress, and speaker. She has modeled for some of the biggest names in high fashion, including Dolce & Gabbana, Monique Lhuillier, Christian Siriano, and more. On a personal level, Kelsey is active in both North and South America, partnering with relief organizations serving orphanages and women trapped in sex trafficking industry. Kelsey, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you, guys. I'm very honored to be in such great company. So I kind of wanted to give a little bit of an insight tonight into the dark but also amazing world of modeling. I think a lot of people have a preconceived notion of what modeling is and what that lifestyle is like. It's nothing at all what people think, to be honest. So I come from a small town in South Dakota, Spearfish, South Dakota. I'm sure you've all heard of it, been there. Yeah. You've been there. Wow. Oh, you've heard of it. Okay, great. It's near Mount Rushmore. That's usually what I tell people. But growing up in the Midwest, if any of you in here are from the Midwest, you kind of have a small town mindset. People around you have that small town mindset. So they think you can only go so far. You know, the norm is to go to a local college and get married young and have a family. That's all great. But if you have a creative spirit or a creative vision, you're kind of looked at as weird, or who are you? How do you even get there? How do you get to New York from South Dakota? So growing up, I came from a really great family, thankfully, and they believed in my vision and my dreams as a child. So in middle school, when we had the class of going in job shadowing, instead of being like all of my classmates who go to the doctor or go to the local banker or the businessman, I somehow found a way to get an interview with the CEO of Oscar de la Renta, and it was my first time to New York. I was a 7th grade girl. And from that moment, I never believed anything would stop me from chasing my dream. I thought, no, the distance between South Dakota and New York's not that far. So graduating high school, I graduated early and went down to Nashville, Tennessee, as well as connect. Got involved in the fashion scene there, which was very small at the time, and found a really great mother agency in modeling, and I worked my butt off to fit the mold. As soon as that happened, I got signed in New York, came up and got thrown to the wolves, right into Fashion Week, right into the midst of everything. One day I get to a meeting and they say, you just got signed in Milan, you're moving tomorrow. Now, I was 20, I'd never left the country. I was still a small town girl at heart. So I went off to Milan. As soon as I landed in Milan, my first casting was for a job in Paris during Fashion Week, which was a dream as a child. And I landed the job, so I thought, hey, this is going to be easy. This is much easier than New York. If only the whole experience was like that. It was nothing like that. But I quickly found that the lifestyle of a high fashion model, it's full of rejection. It's full of drugs and eating disorders, and a lot of things that most people don't, they don't look at. They think, oh, these girls, they're blessed with fast metabolisms, they're fine. Not true, not true. And so I really got a picture into what that life is like for each woman, and it gave me a passion and a heart for these women that I'm looking at them thinking, yo, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. Is it worth losing your fire and what makes you unique to fit this mold? And so that's kind of where I left, and I took some time away, and I thought, how do I go back into this industry? The industry is full of great and amazing things. It's full of the most talented people, the most hardworking, passionate people, and creatives. But how do you go and make your mark and have longevity in this business? Because it's very hard. And so, thankfully, I've met Mark actually on a rooftop just like this one night when I was living in New York as a model. And we kind of stayed in touch, and he reached out to me one time and he said, hey, I've got this agency where I'm really, it was groundbreaking, to be honest. And it was amazing how it was lined up exactly with what my passions were for this industry and for the women in this industry. And just wanting to protect them and guide them, and because in a lot of agencies, they just kind of throw them out there, they don't care. The girls' lifespans, the high fashion model lifespan, you're lucky if you're there for 2 years. A lot of these girls that are on the runway, they're it girl for a couple seasons and then they're gone. And so we're like, how do we develop these girls to have actual careers, to have supermodel careers? You've got to have business skills, you've got to have depth, you've got to have purpose and passion and wisdom. And so that is what DMA is all about. And so I'm just happy to be here, happy to be partnering with Mark, and we're really here to create the new generation of supermodel that is kind of unlike anything that's been out there before.
I'll take that.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. I know it's especially helpful to all the women over here. So I just want to ask you now, what were some of the obstacles and what were some of the hurdles that you had to get through to get to where you are? You know, what were some of the unglamorous and boring work you had to get through, especially being a woman, you know, coming up in this very tough industry? Please just share some examples.
Yeah, of course. So, you know, starting out, before I even started modeling, I went to my first agent, and it was one of the biggest agencies down in Nashville, and she looked at me and she's like, you got a pretty face, but you'll never make it as a model. So that really gave me, you know, that was a naysayer that gave me purpose of like, no, actually I'm gonna, so don't hear what you say. And then all the way to when you're living in Milan and you're living in a closet, basically. You know, you get put in these model houses, and at any given time you're living with 15 other girls in a 2-bedroom. I mean, it's crazy. So there's a lot of things that can really wear on you, and you're like, this is tough work, but you gotta have that vision, and just like how I love to say, vision gives pain a purpose. So when you're in the middle of your journey and you're like, how do I just can't do this another day. You just think, okay, what's the end goal? I'm going to get there. I've got to endure this right now, and I've got to make the best of it. I've got to create deep relationships. I've got to just, you know, be aware of my surroundings, really. So that's pretty much how I did it.
I love it. I love it. If anyone notices, like, the common theme here is that you need to have that motivator. You need to have that dream or that purpose that will keep you going. And just like she said, she was living in a model house for like 15 other girls. You know, so many times she wanted to just say, I quit. But you need that motivation. You need that vision, so you keep going through all of the ugly times to get to where you want to be successfully. So thank you for sharing that. I also want to ask you, what was your biggest achievement up to date? I know you modeled internationally, so many big brands. So what would you say is your biggest achievement up to date?
I think one of my biggest surreal moments was, you know, working in the fashion house of Dolce & Gabbana in Milan, their original fashion house. I mean, that was incredible. They're one of my favorites. I mean, they're always feminine and gorgeous. They really make you feel like a woman. And then, of course, being offered general manager of debut model Nomad.
Oh, thank you. Yes.
That would be exciting.
Actually, may I just say one second? She came to New York when she was 20. A week and a half later, she's going to Europe. Okay. I'm not saying it was some like Cinderella fig. She worked hard, but when she got here, 2 weeks later, she was all over Europe. She was working all over the place in like 2 weeks. So it can happen. You know what I mean? Anyway.
Well, thank you, Kelsey. Thank you for sharing all of that, Kelsey. Appreciate it. All right, now we have last but definitely not least, Jeswani from Nomad Lane. It's a fashion accessory brand. It's a travel and lifestyle brand. So Jeswani, he's the co-founder of Nomad Lane. It's a travel and lifestyle company focused on making the best accessories to make your travel the best. And Kish has a very diverse background, and he'll talk about what led him to where he is today. So please.
Thank you very much, Kevin. Man, Kevin, we've come a long way since I first met you in that elevator that one night. You know, that 1 year ago, people wearing his jackets in the elevator.
Oh, that sounds kind of weird.
It wasn't that weird, but you got me here. Hi everyone. I think for me, like a lot of people in the city, I moved here to chase my dreams. You know, I saw the big lights. You know, I'm from Georgia. I grew up in Atlanta, and just kind of saw the lights. And I was like, you know what? I should be in that. You know, that's me. And so at a very young age, I had someone who took a chance on me. You know, someone took a chance on me and said, hey, listen, you know, if you want, come up here, give it a shot. I'll teach you everything you got to know. With my first job, that was in software sales. So completely not fashion related, very boring. I was selling to very old people that were about 3 times my age at the time. Now maybe twice my age. In accounting software. But from there, just kind of hustled it out, grinded it out, and through them I had the opportunity to live in a bunch of different places, to travel, to just kind of learn a lot of things that I didn't learn in school. Learn a lot of things that you could never learn in a book. And then from there just started traveling, working, etc. And then I got to a point where I feel that the work got in the way of my travel. So I thought for a second, it's like, okay, what do I like doing best, etc. Had a job, had a bad boss, and let me tell you, nothing in life will change your career faster than a bad boss. I don't know if anyone's ever had a bad boss, but nothing in life will change your mind faster than a bad boss. That happened, and basically I felt like I was just knocked to the ground. You know, he came in one day and said, "Hey, you're gone, you're done, get out, bye-bye." Me. So, you know, kind of went home, you know, at the time, you know, kind of living in my years in New York. I had, by that time I actually met my wife, and you know, she was kind of in a similar situation. And we thought, okay, let's, you know, try to figure something out. What can we do? What do we like to do? You know, one of the first things we did early on when we were kind of looking deep within ourselves in terms of what to do, we created what I call a vision board. And we thought, okay, you know, if we could wave a magic wand, what would our life look like? You know, I think for her, it's got a bunch of beaches. I mean, it's got a lot of fast cars, you know, so we started talking about like, okay, let's, you know, do things to get ourselves there. Well, what are we good at? Well, we like traveling, we like exploring, we're curious, people come to us, etc. And so we kind of put our heads together and kind of had this idea about 16 months ago of saying, hey, listen, what if we put this out there in the world? Do you think anyone will like it? So we kind of put our heads together and we launched Nomad Lane, and that's kind of what brought us here today.
Yeah, excellent. I love how you just took the risk and, you know, you lost your job and you and your wife just took the risk and just started this company. And I know that now you're selling like almost every day and, you know, you're traveling so much with it. People from around the world are buying your accessories from Nomad Lane. So first I wanted to ask you was, you know, what helped you get through all of those risk taking? You know, you had to take a lot of risks, losing your job and then starting a business, you know, from scratch. And I know you took about a year to get the business off the ground. So, you know, what really got you to help you to take all these risks?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was more of a mindset. You know, at first I was kind of scared. I didn't have that cushy salary. I didn't have the benefits. And look, I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with that. If you have it, that's great. If you want to do a side hustle and have that, it's even better. You know, it's a lot better situation than what I was in. You know, but for me, I just thought, okay, listen, I'm at this point in my life. I'm already pretty well off in terms of I wake up every morning, I live in the best city in the world, surrounded by some of the best people. In this room tonight, Kevin, next time you gotta tell me how to dress. I feel very out of place here right now. But you know, I just says, hey, listen, you know, worst case scenario, what's gonna happen to me? Right, I'll be broke for a little bit. Right, I can always go out and get a job. And so I just kind of went in with that risk, or kind of with that mindset and said, hey, listen, you know, I know there's other people around me who have done it, and you know, maybe I think I'm a little smarter. I could hustle a little more. It's like, you know, why not? I can do it too. Let me give it a shot. You know, I just feel like you never know what's going to happen to you in life in general. So I thought, you know, if all else fails, look, I can always move back to my parents' basement. My wife won't like that, but we'll go. It's okay, just for a little bit, baby, until we get back on our feet. But yeah, no, so I'm out here trying to do it, you know, and it's very excruciating day in and day out because we're self-funding. Like, every time we spend $1, we think, when's that dollar going to come back to us? When are we going to see that dollar someday? So that's the phase that we're in right now. However, you know, we've had some great momentum. We do a lot of little things. You know, I think that's what life is really all about, is like, you know, big shots, there's no such thing as a big shot. It's just little shots who keep shooting. Amen. You know, and that's what we've been doing. So, you know, basically up until tonight, you know.
I love it, and I know you have to do so much to keep yourself motivated to go through all these tough times in the beginning of a business time. So why don't you share with everybody, like, what's your vision board, or what you have, you know, your part of your dreams, or what keeps you motivated? I know that you and your wife, they want to retire and have a home in Spain. That's part of it, you know. So
that's
share your vision.
That's the end game, no, for sure. But I think we want to move to Barcelona. We want to kind of live that lifestyle. But you know, I think then, you know, this is kind of fun too. Like, you know, waking up every morning and just running. You know, they have that whole, like, you know, saying about, like, you know, how, like, in the wildlife, in the forest, in the jungle, everyone wakes up running because someone's going to get eaten by someone's going to get eaten by someone, etc. So, you know, I just think it's a mindset and just knows, like, hey, listen, you got this far. You know, what's to stop you from going further? And I think the biggest thing I've learned personally is that a lot of people, what they do is they overestimate what they can do in 1 year and they underestimate what they can do in 10 years. 10 years ago, I never thought I'd be sitting here tonight in the company of such fine people. But a year ago when we launched, like, oh, we gotta go big, we gotta blow this thing up. If we're not this, we're gonna walk away. But it's not happening. But I think we're almost there. Not almost there, but on the way there. So kind of think of the big picture sometimes, and don't get caught up in the day-to-day so much. Take a step back, take a deep breath. Buy Kevin Shahroozi leather jacket. It'll make you feel good.
Thank you. Yes, you definitely have to keep yourself motivated. So, Keish, why don't you just share with everybody how they can find you, find out about Nomad Lane, where they can buy Nomad Lane. Please tell everybody that.
Yeah, sure. So we are we're at nomadlane.com, on Instagram, nomad_lane. You can find me here tonight. You can find me by the bar, on the website, etc. Obviously, if anyone is looking to even enter into e-commerce or start their own thing and has an idea, come talk to me. Always happy to help. The reason why I am where I am today is because I had a lot of people that take a bet on me when I was a nobody, when I was a nothing, and I just kind of, am always appreciative of that, and I'm always willing to return the favor through and through. Don't hesitate to walk up to me, please.
You've always been somebody.
Daniel, shut up. Shut up, Daniel.
So thank you very much. I'm so appreciative of this amazing panel I've been a part of. Now, if anybody has any questions at all to any of these speakers, please let us know. I know some of you may be getting a little antsy for the runway show, but if anybody has any questions to any of these speakers, speak your piece now, or ask your piece now.
Maybe sound like we're at a wedding. It's not a wedding.
Kevin.
Yes.
For Nomad,
Yeah.
Yeah.
what's the difference between the day-to-day goal opposed to the 10-year goal? Can you explain that to us?
Oof. Okay. So the day-to-day goal is to make more money, or to make money faster than you spend it. But no, really, the day-to-day is just to grow incrementally, whether it's across our social, our sales, just our community. And really the 10-year goal, I think for us is really just for people to identify with it and say, hey, I'm going somewhere, oh great, Nomad Lane, this is it right here. Kind of in the same way that maybe people think about other fashion brands, or their favorite beverage, or their favorite restaurant, or their favorite food. I just want to be ingrained like that. In terms of Nomad Lane, travel, great. Talk to us because there's a community, it's supportive, and it identifies with you as an individual.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. Anybody else?
Hey, Kevin.
Oh, okay. We have a gentleman back there. Yes. You could yell it. I'm sorry, we don't have a mic over there.
Reading the question. Me?
You talked about growing on Instagram, just like posting your outfits and things like that. When you first started doing it, when did you notice growth, and how did you grow? I saw your Instagram page while you were talking. It's amazing. I followed you too.
Oh, thank you.
So how did you go about in the beginning posting it?
Yeah.
I don't know when you started, but
Yeah, I started about 2.5 years ago. I think the way I just started, started posting very consistently, and I just made sure that anything I put out was high quality content, and that I put thought into it. You can check a video I just actually launched. It's like 1 minute and 48 seconds. It takes you throughout my whole day. It kind of looks like a movie trailer. I'm all about how can we get the most quality content to inspire people, but also to make sure that it aligns with my brand as well, right? So the way I started 2.5 years ago, like I said, just consistent, but now also you have to really network with actual people, right? It's not just about being on Instagram and posting. I think the best way to increase your brand, and the thing is too, it's not about the followers, right? When you forget about the followers, you automatically get the followers. It's like money, right? Like if you try to go for the dollar will go against you, right? But if you do something for your passion and purpose, the money will chase you. So that's what you have to do. You have to focus on the type of content and brand that you want to create. So I definitely highly recommend you collaborating. The biggest growth I've seen is collaborating with other influencers or other people, creating projects together, because the people that are following your journey will also follow their journey if you guys do something together. So that's what I started doing. And then when I started working with GQ, I started, meeting more of their GQ insiders and started to learn more about, angles and about high quality content. So I think that's how you do it. Also, just you can't think about what anyone says about you. I know that's really hard to do, but I think that you have to get to a point in life where you do something for you because you want to be the optimal version of yourself, and don't do it for anybody else. But do it for you, and then everyone else will chase you after that. Yeah.
All right, yes, sir, back there.
What's your routine before taking a meeting to pitch or to close?
That's a really, really good question. What he was saying was, he asked me, what's my routine? How do I get myself prepared? Is that correct? Is that accurate? How do I get myself ready to pitch or to close a deal? By the way, I just gave the answer. I first focus on, most people when they think about sales, any salesmen in here? Any salespeople? I mean, you run a business. If you run any business, you do anything, you're a salesperson. Okay. So, first and foremost, they teach you, if you're a salesperson, right, to get your presentation down, right? Make it look good, make it look amazing, and do the presentation and then close. So I'm going to tell you, I'm going to say it this way, absolute nonsense. The presentation, if they're already talking to you, that's the presentation, you've already done it. You have to walk in to a meeting or a call or whatever you're doing, thinking about closing. Everything that you say, everything that you do, your personality, your attitude, your energy, the way you're looking at the person, whatever, your whole being is going to be about closing the deal, not presenting the deal. I can't tell you how many millions of salespeople present amazing. The pitch decks, PowerPoint presentations, like this one here, amazing, right? Beautiful. Websites, all of that's great. And then when it comes time to get the check, well, that sounds great, I'll think about it, give me a call later. And you're like, okay, yeah, thank you, no problem. Stop. You walk into a situation, in your mind, you already gotta be thinking close. Now, in terms of me personally, that's part of it. But personally, like I said earlier, it's a very spiritual type of thing. You kind of have to think about or visualize. Visualization is a big thing. You kind of have to think about, look at the person who you've been talking to for a while. You know you're going to go in this meeting, so you know you're going to talk to before you get there. Whatever the meeting is, a call, whatever it is. So, what inspires them? Marketing, marketing 101, number one rule of marketing, and everything else, the science, everything comes after, is to convey benefit. Not to yourself, but to the client you're trying to close. So you gotta know who your client is. Like they say, know your enemy, know your client. Then, what inspires them? Not what motivates them. Two different words. What inspires them? What gets them excited? What gets them excited about you? I had a friend once who was a banker. I once worked in finance. Who said, he wrote a check to this kid who was a boxer to open up his boxing gym. No business plan, not even a sentence, nothing. But his vision, his passion, and he visualized so intensely, He so inspired this investor, and this is an investor now, but an investment banker, which they don't invest in anything. They get you to spend their money, but they don't invest in. This guy put up, I don't know how much money to open up this guy's gym. So you gotta inspire the person that you're talking to, but while you're inspiring them, close them. Don't be afraid. Get this sucker. Do you understand what I'm saying? Get him.
Yeah.
All right, I hope that answered it. You got it, brother.
Okay, anybody else?
I have a question. I have one.
Yes.
I believe everything begins with intention. And in regards to your unique specialties with your business, what is your intention?
Who are you asking?
Who wants to answer that?
I'll take that one. Go for it. I mean, I think
Oh,
you-
yeah, turn it.
Yeah, I think for us, for Nomad Lane, just our intention was just to make your next journey a little easier. That's all, after us traveling, I've lost a GoPro, my wife's earrings, SIM cards, etc. Just make your next journey a little easier so you can actually get there and enjoy the destination.
Thank you.
So, when I started at L'Oreal, I learned a lot about the professional products division in the salon industry and how that relates to fashion, and became very, very, very passionate about that. And that has actually driven my entire vision for the project that I work on now in hair.com. The idea of the intention of really supporting the industry and the salon professional and what their talents are. And so that vision is 100% inspired by my intention to do that. So I agree with you.
I think my intention for the menswear space was to inform men that, what you wear can definitely increase your confidence. It's kind of an in and out type thing, right? Obviously you have to be confident from the inside out, but what you wear also can increase your confidence as well, because there's many times that I've walked into a room, looking great, and someone thinks that I was higher than what I really was at the time, and that increased me to the next level. But I think my other intention was to bring depth into the fashion industry. A lot of my messages are more about like mindset, about how to be, a better person, every day to your family, and just to your friends and in business. So, and then I know like in the influencer space and on Instagram, there's a lot of, there's a lot of things on fashion, but there's not too much about, how to be the best version of yourself, so to say. So kind of my thing is I wanted to use my fashion as a bait to reel people into the real message, which is, how to actually be, the better version of you. So that was my intention.
May I'll say one more thing about.
Yes, go ahead, Mark.
I'll just say one more thing about attention. Just relative to what I think, I'm not sure if I know what you're asking, but it's relative to kind of knowing what you want, but recognizing after you ask yourself, which most people don't ask themselves, what do you want? I mean, think about it, right? Right now, look in the mirror and say, tell yourself what you want. You think you know what you want. Most people don't know what they want. And as a matter of fact, if you ask most people what they want, they get upset. Ask them what they don't want, they have a list that goes on and on and on and on, right? So really it's about my intentions relative to what I want. So that's really what the journey is, trying to figure out what you want, which really has more to do with kind of like accepting who you are. Like, you know who you are? Like, do you recognize your value, rather? So if that... All right.
Thank you. Great insights, all of you guys. Yes, someone here had a question? Yes, Miss.
Mark, you're in a super competitive space.
Yeah.
In terms of marketing, what are you doing to build brand awareness?
I don't like you, Kristen.
Yes.
I love you very, very much, and I hate that question. Can I defer to my general manager?
Yeah.
I love
Of
it.
course.
I'm sorry, what? Repeat the question.
Repeat the question, you gotta say it louder.
Repeat the question, please.
what are you doing to build brand awareness and carve out a niche in
Oh wait,
boutique industry?
I'll say firstly you hire Kristen Marquet from Creative Development.
That's what I thought we were answering.
No, I'm teasing.
No, seriously.
I'm so teasing, yes.
I mean, this is a real question.
Yes.
So we talked about it earlier. I guess you wanted to.
Philosophy. I mean, I'll piggyback out.
I'll let you do it. No, we're freaking frack over here. Sorry.
I think it's more expanded on what I spoke about a little bit earlier, but in the industry right now, we'll just go to the modeling agency, which is what we're running. There's a huge gap in the actual care of these people as human beings versus just a product. And yes, they're a product because they're making you money. They're what your company is, providing to other people, but they're also human beings. And so I think for us, it's causing us to stand out a lot because I've been to every high fashion agency in the city. I've visited with every single one, every booker. I know how these women are treated, men and women in this industry. It's not any better for the men. And I think once they start saying, oh, there's an agency over here that's actually protecting these people, that's caring about their future and the longevity, not just how much can you make me? Does the client not like you? Okay, you're to the side. You're tossed. It's a lot of intentionality. I think it's just lacking right now in this industry. I mean, do you want to add any more to that philosophy?
I'll just add. I agree completely with her, and if I don't, then I'll just give you it up. But anyway, but just adding to that. The way we focus on building brand awareness, we're focusing on making or inspiring the models to understand by training them and by being that way, to be as professional as possible. In other words, you as a model, you're in an individual business, which means you have to know your craft, which it is a craft, right? It's a skill. There are many skills you have to learn. But it's not just about learning it. Like, I find that most models, especially models who've been doing it for a while, they think, well, I walked one runway, I've walked a million. But it's not true. You gotta drill that runway and work that skill over and over and over. You gotta learn makeup and master it. You gotta master posing. You gotta master all these things. But mastery is about practice does not make perfect, practice makes better. That means you eat, sleeping, and drinking what you're doing, right? And so if we can train them, inspire them, protect them, develop them, not just in terms of all the things you think about, photo shoots and runway, but also, is your credit really good? Your credit score? Do you understand taxes? Do you understand these things? Can you get your own apartment without having to get your dad as a guarantor? When we develop our models to be so professional and so on point about every aspect of their industry, that when they walk into a casting, or they go anywhere, they show their comp card or their business card, or they say, hey, we were at DMA, they pretty much got the job because they already know, we know DMA.
Yes. It's also about your personal standards as much as your business standards. Your personal development and your personal standards will be a reflection into your business success. So, yes. Also, by the way, I don't think we shared the debut model agency, the contact information and things like that. Why don't we just share with everybody how they can contact you or find out about debut model agency and yes.
Debutmodels.com. Debut model agency on Instagram. And then all the other contact information will be there.
Awesome. Okay, I think that's all the time we have for the speaking panel. I'm so grateful to be with all these amazing speakers and this whole panel. And I think it's time to run into this runway show.
We need some music, damn it.